I did the flea markets. I used to do the flea markets. So when I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get a space, I work 7 days, and like I said, I sold a lot of posters. I sold zodiac pendants and so on that we had at the time and whatnot, So I just kept on adding on to, I would say, my repertoire.
Right. What was like your first big break in business? Aside from establishing the store.
Getting the store. I left my truck. I was in the truck for like about 6 years, from 74 to 80. My big break came when I was able to get a store on Broadway. And we was the first black entrepreneur to get on Broadway, in that particular area,
Right.
the wholesale area.
Right.
So that was my big break, And then once I got in there, like I said, the clientele started coming in because they knew of us and knew of me personally, and they patronized us. And then a lot of the island people started coming through,
Right.
and just upping my business, So Trinidad, back in the days, back in the early '80s, we were into rock. So we did a lot of rock T-shirts, AC/DC, whatever, Van Halen, all of them, So from there on, then again, like I says, we got into other things as well. When Michael Jackson came on the scene, well, I'm going to say even before Michael Jackson, Bob Marley. Bob Marley, we sold a lot of Bob Marley paraphernalia. And that elevated the business as well. And people knew to come to us for reggae type merchandise,
Right.
And then Michael Jackson came on the scene. He was another big hit for me, but
Very was a big hit.
yes, he was able to give me my first car, man, my first Mercedes.
So I have another question. If you can share, what would be the biggest loss that you overcame? So pretty much a story of adversity regarding running this Nicholas,
Well, you just have to be careful with your transactions, especially with your shipping and so on, because we did get burnt at one time for a good piece of money. I'm going to say, actually, we lost $20,000. Shipping merchandise out overseas. They was using stolen credit cards. And at the time, and they used like about 3 credit cards to do their transaction. And I was never able to recoup from that, but still, went to try to do, how can I say, go to the precinct.
Right.
To file claim and so on. They wouldn't touch it regardless, They felt that it wasn't enough to really bother them to get involved and so on. So that was a loss. That was something that I had to write off, That was my biggest loss,
Right.
Doing business. But again, like I said, we bounced back and it just went forward, We just didn't dwell on it, it just kind of, how can I say, just handle business a little bit better,
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, how did you improve your transactional security with customers?
Well, you have to double check. Your information and so on. Make sure you're dealing with the right people and so on. And also, some of them would have to do a prepayment beforehand. Once the transaction went through, then we would go ahead and ship out the merchandise.
Right. Right.
Whereas before, like I said, we didn't have all of these, how can I say, stoppage to check to see if it was, invalid or whatever, So, but now today, technology is totally different, So.
And speaking of credit, how many people would you say you extended credit to so that way they could get the merchandise from you?
Well, it was quite a bit. I couldn't give you a dollar amount, but like I said, we did at the beginning. Like I said, we helped out a lot of vendors, with credit and so on that I could handle, because you don't want to overextend yourself as you don't have capital to work with,
Right.
So you want to make sure you balance everything out,
Right.
so that everything was functional, that you can still operate properly and so on,
Word.